How is it going, team? Welcome back to another episode of the Average Jazz podcast, where we dive into the nitty gritty of health, wellness, and everything in between. I'm your host, Jack McKeenan, and today we've got a treat for you. Joining us is my good friend, coach, bodybuilder, and kinetic therapist, Ewan Rodger. Ewan's here to share his insights on the sacrifices that come with bodybuilding, the importance of having a solid support system around you, and why hard work and consistency are non-negotiable success. We'll also talk about learning to lose gracefully and clear up some common misconceptions about the world of bodybuilding. But before we jump in, a quick shout out to our sponsor, Vertebra Strength. For all your strength training needs and just looking as good as you can in everyday life and in the gym, head over to their website and use the code AverageJack for 20% off your purchase. And that 20% is just for our listeners of the podcast and for everyone who goes over and is included in the queue, which is our weekly newsletter. So don't forget to check out my website, www.jackmckinnon.co.uk, for more content, a bit more about myself, and any updates that are going to go on. So now, without further ado, let's get into today's episode with Ewan Rodger. Enjoy the episode. Peace. Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm excited for this one. I've been looking forward to it all day.
I have.
Are you feeling about it? Are you nervous, or have you ever done anything like this before?
Yeah, I've done, but it's always been more bodybuilding related rather than. Obviously, I know this one is going to be obviously bodybuilding related. Do you know what I mean? But like more so with people in, the industry.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think I've done it twice. I think off the top of my head.
Cool. We'll see how we go. I definitely want to get into the bodybuilding and sort of that area of things, because from sort of the outside looking in, I think it'd be interesting to hear from someone who's in the trenches with it, been through it, been there, done it, is still doing it. I think it's such a, not a shrouded thing, but I think you see a lot of, I might be wrong on this, you can correct me on it. Feel free for calling me out on anything all the way through. But I feel there's sort of a perception with bodybuilding that we see on social media, but that's the majority. It's all the pretty stuff in it, I think.
Yes, you do, and you don't see a lot of people want to get into it. Do you know what I mean? Or like a lot of people want to do it, but they don't realise the sacrifices. Do you know what I mean? That it actually takes. And when I say sacrifices, it's more how hard it is. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah, definitely.
People like the idea of getting in shape, and trying to get someone in shape from a lifestyle perspective, is it easy? Do you know what I mean? No, there's going to be some degree of sacrifice, but if you want to take that from looking great for a holiday or looking great on a beach or something like that, to then take that into, do you know what I mean, like the next level, there's a different level to it, and do you know what I mean? It's not all fun and games.
Oh, I can imagine, and that's definitely what I want to sort of piece it into and sort of get your own personal journey with it. Because I know we've spoken, obviously, when I've been treated and that, and I've known you for a while now, and we do get into the bird bones of things. But we're not talking about rugby league, that is. But
yeah, which is a lot.
Yeah, which is a lot, which is the majority of the time, which is probably ideal for we can sort of just get into the crux of it here, because there'd be a lot that I don't know. So, yeah, man, I think the best place to start is always the beginning.
Yeah.
So, if younger you could see you now, would this be what you anticipated? Was this always in the pipeline?
Do you know what? I wouldn't say it was in the pipeline. What I would say is, like, from a young age, I'd say from like early teenage years. Obviously, we all played rugby. Do you know what I mean? Like, one of my things was very, very quick, good step. Do you know what I mean? Skillful, but probably just needed a little bit more. I was tall and skinny. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it was kind of like I needed a little bit more size. So I started getting into the gym. I remember, I think it was at 14 years of age, I picked up my first Flex magazine, and I've still got them to this day. Yeah, and I think it was Ronnie Coleman on the front, and I just remember being sat on the back of the bus with my mate on the way back home from Warrington Town Centre, and he was like, "Why have you bought that?" He was like, "You don't want to look like that, do you?" I was like, Fuck yeah.
Fucking yeah, I do.
Yeah, I do. And it was ever since then, and our old rugby team got taken into a backstreet gym on a Friday night. That was kind of the thing during the winter period. So you had to try and keep kids off the street, do you know what I mean? Not saying like we were from a rough area, we weren't, but it was kind of like to stop kids from going out, trying to stop kids going out getting pissed, do you know what I mean? Like living on parks and stuff like that. They thought it'd be a good idea to get us into a gym. Do you know what I mean? We can work on size, strength, conditioning, all the rest of it. And it was a backstreet gym, and seeing the fellas, do you know what I mean, big bodybuilders, do you know what I mean, like, and I say that sort of backstreet community, it was kind of like, you could kind of relate to it a little bit, do you know what I mean, in terms of straight talking. It was like, right, okay, I like this, I like training. So I got into it then, and it was then when I started to get into college, and I started to take that side of things more seriously, along with the rugby. But I was falling in love with the physical change side of things. Do you know what I mean? Like seeing your body go. Because I went from being a centre, do you know what I mean, who could run 100 metres in, the quickest time that I clocked was 11:1. Do you know what I mean? But yeah,
Yeah.
that was at like the age of like 16. So it was quick. It was quick. But I went from centre up into the pack. Do you know what I mean? I was like, right, okay. Yeah. So it's kind of like I just fell in love with that, and then I'll be honest with it. Could I see it go down the bodybuilding route? No, but I kind of feel like with injuries and with other things, it kind of pushed me that way. And I feel like I'm kind of where I don't want to say where I belong. It's not as if I'm a great bodybuilder or what everything, but it's a passion. Like along with rugby, along with football, it's a passion of mine, and obviously it filters into my job. Do you know what I mean? With coaching and treating people and everything else. So I kind of feel like it was something that was sparked from a young age, and then it's just led me down that path. So could I see myself being a bodybuilder? No, but yeah, yes and no. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so being sort of the foundations were always there to sort of go down that avenue potentially. And it's
Yeah,
interesting you mentioned that, because obviously we've chatted before and you mentioned your injury
yeah.
and stuff there, and you obviously had quite a severe injury. Obviously feel free not to get into it and stuff. But was that sort of a turning point for you of obviously the reason I come and see you is because my body is absolutely mangled from playing rugby.
Yeah,
So as yours was as
yeah,
well. But when you got that injury, and obviously you had these scenarios that were presented to you,
yeah.
was that sort of the time where you was like, right, you had to make a decision, a difficult decision. I've had it before when you've been told to stop playing, and it's such an integral part of your life that you think, fucking hell, I can't imagine not
No.
doing this. But obviously then you had this backup, and was it just sort of like, right, well, if I can't do this, it's just full lather into
Yeah,
this?
it was it because I went from rugby league back to football because again I could still play again. Like I was a half decent footballer, and it's kind of like I was playing it again once leaving rugby to go back to football. It's kind of like they're all loves of mine, so it's kind of like I had something to fall back into. Do you know what I mean? It was like I could transition back into that, but I still wanted to keep the size from rugby. Do you know what I mean? And I used to have it when I was playing football. Like you'd get some people, and like I say, it was a decent level. But I used to play football for Rylands, and Rylands used to have a rugby pitch. Do you know what I mean? Next to the football pitch. So I say, cool story. I was at Rylands when Wayne Rooney's agent took over Rylands, Paul Stretford, and he started pumping money into the club. They're in the Evo stick now, so they've actually come from like a low level up to a decent level. But I used to have people say then, oh, shouldn't you be on that pitch over there? Do you know what I mean? Like, because I still wanted to carry size. Do you know what I mean? But still play football. But then obviously the football injury happened, and it was just like I've always wanted to compete. I always wanted to do it, and it's kind of like I was pushed into that. Do you know what I mean? Because other than that, it's kind of like what else? What else drives me? What else gets me out of bed? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, definitely. And it's cool to hear someone sort of. You don't often hear people put the passion on the front foot. Do you know what I mean? You see a lot of people who are just like, well, I want the job. I want the job that pays well. It's that sort of thing. So I
yeah.
think it's really refreshing to hear that you're like, I'm sticking with a passion and I'm going for it.
I literally had this conversation with someone today, literally with treatment, and it was kind of like he was telling me how content with he sort of was with his life. Do you know what I mean? With his career path and stuff like that. And I was just like, say, yeah, I'm the same because I'm content, but I'm happy because I'm not driven by money. Do you know what I mean? Money makes the world go round. It's fantastic. Do you know what I mean? We all need money to get by, but I'm very happy with what I do. Do you know what I mean? I love my jobs. I love coaching. I love treating people. And from a hobby perspective, like I love bodybuilding. It's just like I'd rather get up out of bed, do something that I love rather than just do something for the sake of doing it. Do you know what I mean? I've
Oh yeah,
probably
it's so important.
I was going to say I've probably I don't want to say been fortunate, but from a young age knew that I was very very sport driven. Do you know what I mean? And just wanted to pursue that passion rather than. And it's no like if people want to go out on every weekend, do you know what I mean, and get off the face, that's absolutely fine. Do you know what I mean? If that's what they love, cool on them. Do you know what I mean? But I knew from a young age that wasn't me, so it's kind of like I'm not that person. So yeah, it's passion's kind of what's driven me down. I think it always will, to be honest. I think I'll always
Yeah,
do something that I'm passionate about, or try to.
and that's a great sort of not motivation, sorry, a fuel source to, you know, make sure that you're staying true to yourself. If you know that you're always going to be led by your passions, you're not going to fall into them traps of maybe like everyday life of just go and get the job, go and get the degree, go and do that. And with you saying if you love it and you want to go and do it, everyone's different. And I've found that doing this podcast in particular and chatting to different people from different walks of life is that everyone says that. Everyone sort of says it's not if it's for you, it's for you. And I think there's so much even from our perspective, like fitness and exercise is such a massive part of my life and obviously yours.
Yeah,
But to some people it's not. And I was chatting to John Cunningham on the
yeah,
podcast last week and he was like, you just gotta let people do what they want to do. And I was like, yeah, you're absolutely bang on. And it does how being a coach and obviously being so passionate about this,
yeah.
how do you navigate them waters of not getting sort of not frustrated, but like, when people aren't buying in? Do you find that difficult of that balance of being sort of you do what you want to do, but also you're with me for a reason, if that makes sense?
Yes, but you kind of again you kind of have to have honest conversations. But it's kind of like it's understanding people to be able to have those conversations and how you navigate your way around that conversation. So, is it frustrating? Yes, obviously there's going to be some level of frustration because it's like I've got the key there that can get you there. All that's required is just a little bit of consistency. Do you know what I mean? Over a long period, like I say, over a period of time. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it's going to take to achieve. Let me do my job. Do you know what I mean? And do that side of things. And all you need to do is you tick the boxes daily. So look, life sometimes happens. Do you know what I mean? But sometimes things get in the way. You wash it off. Do you know what I mean? You brush yourself off. You go again. Not every day is perfect. But yes, it's frustrating. But you kind of again have to take it from person to person. It's person dependent. And I know I've got people within my setup that I can speak to on a level where I can be brutally honest with them and
Mm,
just say, come on, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, I expect better of you. Do you know what I mean? That shit, that needs to improve. Don't let that happen again. Do you know what I mean? And like, they'll respond to that because that's what they're used to. Then I've got
that's the
people,
culture.
yeah, but I'd kind of say that's probably what they've been used to and what they've grown up around. But you know
Yeah.
that from the personality, and you can tell that they appreciate straight talking, and it kind of like lights a fire in their ass, being like, no, I want to show him. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh fuck, like
Mm,
I can't be asked being not spoken to like that again. But like, I don't want to have that conversation again. Do you know what I mean? Like, then you've got others again that you have to sort of do the same thing with, but you have to navigate your way around. Because I know if I spoke to some people like that, it would be a case of see you later. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's understanding the person and understanding how to get the best out of them. And yeah,
So with going back to what you mentioned before, coming from team sports of like football and rugby, and then obviously going into bodybuilding.
yeah,
My perception of bodybuilding, which obviously is why we're having this chat, you might be able to educate me a little bit, is that
I'll try.
it seems to be a pretty lonely road. It seems to be a lot of individual work. I mean, obviously you're working on yourself. Was
Yeah,
the sort of everything I've ever done, I've always looked back on team sports and sports that I've played when I was younger as sort of not inspiration and not necessarily guidance, but you go into a workplace or you go into new teams, and I think if you've played sports from being a young age, you sort of learn the navigations of how to handle more situations with people.
Yeah.
What is there anything from team sport that applied well into bodybuilding, or was it completely like this is foreign territory?
You have a job to do. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, in a team sport, depending on your position, do you know what I mean? Like, or whatever, you have a job to do, so you have to do that job to the best of your ability. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of, that's probably what I can say, taking from team sport into bodybuilding. Do you know what I mean? You still have a job to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, and no matter what, you have to do that job. It's, for me, I find, I don't want to say the similarities, but like in terms of team sport and bodybuilding, the two, you can take some things, do you know what I mean? Like, meaning that there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, do you know what I mean? Like, I'll tell you one thing that bodybuilding does teach you, and that's how to lose, and how to lose graciously. Because you might be like this. Like, I know when I was younger, for example, playing in a team sport, I used to be a terrible loser. Terrible. Like, because I used to just want to win and like, I'd throw my toys out the pram. You do that on stage, do you know what I mean? Like, and you look like a right dick. And there's people
Yeah,
that do it, and you just think, oh, come on, mate. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's an opinionated sport, and you've got to have long, hard looks in the mirror at yourself and be like, okay, it's not the people around you, it's solely on you. Do you know what I mean? Like, instead of looking, being like, oh, that's corrupt or that's wrong, I should have beat him, this, that, and the next thing, have a look at yourself and go, what can I do better? Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, that's the decision. What can I go away? What can I make that be better next time? Do you know what I mean? So I would say there's some elements, but I'd say personal opinion, I feel like it's completely different in terms of you don't have teammates around you to back you up in terms of, you know, like if you like say if you're like say central midfielder, you lose the ball, ah fuck, I've got a line of defence and a goalkeeper that's going to save me. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, if I fuck up, it's on
yeah.
me, and it's like,
Yeah.
no, that's your fuck up. You have to deal with that. Like,
So what was taking stage like for the first time? It obviously coming back from, like you said, you've got them safety nets in sports that you play, and then you've transitioned, you've put all this work in, you've done all this hard work by yourself, sacrificed, which we'll get into in a
yeah,
minute, no doubt. And then to stand there, I mean, I imagine the experience is fucking mental for the first time to be one tanned up like you are
yeah,
in your little like in your budgies and stuff like that, and then not only that, but there's these people that you don't know what they like, you don't know what they're looking for in your physique, and there's also these fucking jack units
yeah.
stand next to you as well. What was that like?
Very. See, I'm not. I was about to say, I ain't look at me. Do you know what I mean? It's not as if I'm like a fucking looker or anything, is it? Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like I liked bodybuilding because I liked the training, I liked the routine, and I liked. Do you know what I mean? Like, the day-to-day structure. I fell in love with weight training. Do you know what I mean? I fell in love with changing my physique. I fell in love with getting stronger and stuff like that. So when you take someone who's not a showman as such, do
Mm.
you know what I mean, who doesn't like attention, who doesn't like, you know, like, all eyes on them. And when you put them into that environment of, like you say, a pair of budgie smugglers and a tan, and it's kind of like, people will laugh and say, well, if you don't like attention, why the fuck are you getting on stage in a pair of sparklies and like a tan? And it's, to be honest, and it's more so just because it's reward at the end. It's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's a reward for the hard work, if that makes sense. The stage time I've kind of liked to enjoy over the years now. Do you know what I mean? Because I've learned to handle it better. But that first time, mate, oh fuck me, I was nervous. Like, I was really nervous. Like, and I just remember like picking a point, like just sort of staring at that point. No one was there, do you know, as in like no one was
Yeah.
in that point, but like I was looking at that point and being like, right, just focus on that. Just look at that and don't look at anyone. Don't make eye contact with the judges. Don't make eye contact with anyone in the audience, and then it becomes really fucking weird.
Like, what the fuck? What is there something behind me?
Yeah,
What is going on?
yeah. Is that person laughing at me? Do I look like shit?
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like, no, it was horrible. It was horrible. Not fun.
So when you mentioned there about starting to begin to enjoy the stage time,
Yes.
is that because you've put all this hard work in, you've had this structure, you've done the daily work, everything that people don't see behind the scenes? Is that what's always in your mind, when you're getting up and you're having whatever meal of the day it is, whatever session it is, and stuff like that? Is that what you have to remember? Does that become your central focus when you're competing?
In what go on in what way?
Like the end goal. So do you know, like if you're having them days, because you mentioned then about there being highs and there being lows and stuff like that, and everyone knows from personal experience, having the discipline to do something on the low days is fucking 300% harder than doing something on the good
Yeah,
days. And is it the stage that is sort of keeping you accountable and keeping you disciplined?
personal opinion, yes, and that's
Mm.
because you know that you've got to get up on there at the end of the day, and if you get up on there looking like shit, again, like you're going to make a tit of yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like being like, didn't come in shape, or do you know what I mean? Like this, that, and the next thing. Like it's on you. I say it's on you at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? Like you have a, do you know what I mean? You either have a coach or whatever. It's, you work in sync with each other, but at the end of the day, it's you on that stage. So it's kind of like on those low days, yes, that's why it's always good to set a goal. Do you know what I mean? Of like a photo shoot or a prep or something like that, because you have a goal to aim for, and it's kind of like that goal means something. So it's like, yeah, on those low days where you are dragging your ass and you're contemplating life, and it's just like you've it's it's the stage, and I'll be honest with you, it's more so personal progression, because you don't want to look back and be like, fuck, do you know what I mean? I looked better last year or whatever. So it is the stage, and it is that personal progression from a personal standpoint.
So how do you develop them skills and that mindset to not get caught up in comparing yourself to? I know you have to compare yourself to others, but you mentioned then about not looking back how you was last year or 6 months prior and things like that. How do you avoid being sort of consumed by that? Because I imagine it's very easy.
Yes, and don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and say that I've not looked, not that, like, in the past.
Mm.
I remember, like, I think in the first year where I was looking, do you know what I mean, to see, oh, is anyone doing this show? Do you know what I mean? Who's the first timers? This, that, and the next thing. And like, I just done my own heading. And at the end of the day, didn't want to feel like. And at the end of the day, like, I'll have this conversation with my clients now, either first timers or whatever else who are competing. And I'll turn around and say to them, like, it doesn't matter who's there on the day. Like, what you see on social media isn't. I've seen a lot of people that look absolutely amazing on social media. When they turn up to shows, they flop. And that's because either they filter pictures or they get the best angle. They've put that much pressure on themselves that they fuck it in the final stages with a peak or cortisol level spike or whatever else. So it's kind of like control your controllables. And that's kind of the one thing that you've got to remember. Do you know what I mean? Like, and like I say, when I done it first time, I was like, I cannot control who's there. I cannot control what they look like. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot control who I'm up against. And you could be scrolling social media, do you know what I mean, for hours looking for people who you might potentially be up against, and then you know some freak turns up out of nowhere that doesn't have social media, and you'd be like, I didn't see this fucker coming. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
then they
yeah.
wipe the floor with you all. So it's kind of like, again, and this is where I say, like, you learn a lot from this sport in terms of losing, because you're gonna lose unless you're the cream of the crop or you're a genetic freak or whatever else. 9 times out of 10, you're gonna lose more than you win, and that's just fact. Do you know what I mean? So
Mm.
you've got to take. I'd say you've got to be prepared for that. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be prepared to lose more than you're going to win, and that's where you kind of develop that skill. If you're going to spit your dummy out and you're someone that doesn't like to hear honest chat, or do you know what I mean, be real or be honest and look at photos and look at stuff like with a open mind, do you know what I mean, and like be harsh with yourself, it's pointless. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? So it's kind of developing that skill. It's kind of like you've just got to be honest, realistic with yourself, and just like I say, control your controllables.
How the sort of you've mentioned it there with people sort of coming to you and you speaking. So like if you have a coach and things like that, how many people come to you and obviously see, the social media and this and that and are like, I want to look like you?
Not many.
Not many, really. I thought like people would come and be like, I want to be a bodybuilder. Tell me how you've done it. I thought you'd get a
No,
few.
no. Honestly, like, again, I'm not the most aesthetically pleasing. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mm,
I'm not, again, like, I bodybuild. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
I'm average. Well, I say average. Do you know what I mean? From an amateur standard, I'm not one of the best. It's like if you look at my social media platform, like it's not amazing. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not aesthetically pleasing. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like you might get the odd person, like like when you're out in the street or something. Not saying out in the street, but do you know what I mean? If you went out on a night out, you might get the odd person. Oh fucking hell! Like, what do you take? Like, what do you eat? Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
want to be as big as you, or I used to have a mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't
Yeah.
really get many people that will come up to me and go, "Want to look like you."
That's surprising. That I didn't think that would be. I didn't think that would be the case. I thought you get a lot of like wannabes is probably the harsh term. You know what I mean? But people
Yeah.
just thinking like, oh fucking, if you can do it, I can do it. You know them sort of people that you get.
Okay. So from they might not directly say it, but like, and it might be from a coaching perspective. Do you know what I mean? Like, they might look at you and think that's he's done well with. Do you know what I mean? Where he's come from to where he is now. Do you know what I mean? I
Mm.
admire that. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying I aspire to be like that, but it's kind of like I might admire that. That's why I might choose that coach. Do you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
he gets his clients in great shape. Do you know what I mean? Something along those lines. But I can
Mm.
honestly, hand on heart, say that in my time, I've worked with a couple. I'm going to say at least one coach that I went with because he was a taller bodybuilder and he had a fantastic shape, and I was like, I want to look like him. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's why I
Yeah.
went with that guy. Like, because I wanted to look like him. I never told him, saying like, I'm with you, mate, because I want to look like you. Do you know? But it was kind of like, yeah, he is 6'5". I'm not 6'5".
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I'm 6 foot, but he was 6'5", and I was like, yeah, he's done so well with such a tall frame. Do you know what I mean? To be able to feel
Mm.
like, I want to look like that. He's the guy to go to. Do you know what I mean?
No, I get that completely because sort of you always the only thing that, and this is why social media can be dangerous or very positive, and this is why there's people who charlatans are always out there. They can make themselves look a certain way and do a certain thing, entice people who want that to be done, and then
Yep.
you're in a scenario then where you're like, oh fuck, this person's just absolutely catfished me or sharked me into a situation.
Do you know what, mate? Unfortunately, you get a lot of them within the industry, and I can sit here and say it's frustrating. Do you know what I mean? It is. It doesn't frustrate me as much as it used to
Mm.
because, like, honestly, like, if you're decent, do you know what I mean? You'll either retain clients, you'll either get results, retain clients, or whatever. The people like that, the charlatans, they don't post many client transformations. They don't post much about themselves. Do you know what I mean? You might see them post like all the fancy reels and everything like that because they've been business coached and whatever else. Like, unfortunately, I say unfortunately, it's fortunate because I've picked up clients off people, not swiping them. Do you know what I mean? They've come to me, I mean, after being with a coach and say, oh, this, that, and the next thing. I'm just like, why have they, even to a point, and I'm not going to name the coach, there was a coach who was trying to put people on performance enhancing drugs and telling them that they were still classed as natural and that they could still compete in natural feds. And I'm just like, no, that's a lack of that's they're trusting you to do a job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not just lying to someone about competing in an anti-fed. You're actually lying to someone. Do you know what I mean? Like putting an exogenous hormone in the body that can actually like again ruin hormonal production. And do you know what I mean? Just do other things. It's just like, oh my god. But yeah, there's honestly, mate, there's a lot of them within in the industry. A lot of them.
Yeah, definitely. And I can only imagine in sort of, I won't say bodybuilding's niche, but I'd say like actual bodybuilding. Because I feel like sometimes the waters get murky with bodybuilding. I feel like some people do, weight training and put on size and stuff like that. And they're like, I'm bodybuilding. But like, when I look at you and I know you and I stand next to you, I'm like, that's a fucking bodybuilder, man. that is
Thanks.
someone who.
I don't feel like it, but I appreciate it.
Oh
Thank you.
well, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass because you're here, mate. You're a fucking unit, and like, if you stood like I'm a, if you put me in an average lineup, I'm probably a big fella.
Yeah.
But like, you are, a bodybuilder to me, and I think sometimes people you see it on socials like, come and become a bodybuilder, and I'm like, that's where the lines get murky, innit? Because like the hard work that you put in must be insane and sort of segues nicely into where I want to go next. Like, what does a normal day look like you for? I know there's many different phases of your training and where you are in sort of like your cycle of competition.
Yeah.
But like, what's the hardest part of the like the cycle from bulking, prepping, and then competing was like the hardest bit?
Right. So it depends which bodybuilder you speak to, and a lot of people can't handle peak off season. Do you know what I mean? Because like food's at an all time high. Do you know what I mean? You feel sluggish, you feel lethargic. Do you know what I mean? Like peak body weight, appetite's gone, digestion might be a bit compromised. Like I'll be completely honest with you. Like the last off season, food got high, but it was never anywhere near there. Do you know what I mean? I was still quite comfortable. For me, it's always the back end of a prep. Like, and I'm talking like the last 2 weeks, because for me personally, it's just energy levels are low. And it should be the same with anyone. If you're actually in shape, like energy levels are going to be in the bin. Like even like daily tasks become a fucking issue. And again, when you're still trying to do a job, work, etc., like it gets to a point where at the back end of a prep, like even like training becomes an issue. When I say an issue, it doesn't become fun. You're literally just going in there. There's no pump. You're flat as a pancake. You're not progressing with weights, and it's just like you got no energy. You got no desire to have social conversation. Your social battery's in the bin. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like that's probably for me the hardest part, and it's just the last 6 weeks down to 2 weeks is.
I did a bit of a deep dive on your Insta just for have a look, and like I saw your cut, and it was something like £30 or something that you
30.
was it like what is it was 20, it was like what was it, it was a massive weight what I'll get the post up now
Are you on
because
about
I was
last
like,
year?
yeah, when you cut and like
Yeah,
what,
mate.
how much was it?
I think it was 70.
Fuck it, mate, I read that wrong then. Fuck me. Like,
Yeah,
that's insane. That
yeah.
is.
Unfortunately, that was because I'd been taken too far the other way in an off season. Been pushed up to £300 plus. Yeah, £300 plus, and then again, it wasn't quality. So it's kind of like to get in shape, actually to get in condition, and even then there was still a little bit here and there. Do you know what I mean? Like that could have been better and should have been better, but yeah, it was £70 pulled off, and it was like that should never have happened. I say on average, do you know what I mean? Like realistically, I nailed that off season, like, and like fuck me, I've got my missus to back me up. Like no meal was missed. Do you know what I mean? Everything was done to the T. Like I was listening to the advice of on results basis is a very good coach. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, right, okay, we're going to get up there, blah 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 blah. Yeah, we got up there. Realistically, like personal opinion, I don't think you should be able. If you've nailed your off season correctly and not got too sloppy, you should be pulling anywhere between 30 and I'd say £50 being probably max. Do you know what I mean? In a prep, but realistically, you're probably looking anywhere between. I'd even say 25 to that 50 range. Do you know what I mean? If you've nailed everything to a T, personally. So
That
70.
even that is just crazy. Do you know what I mean? To sort of go from that and then be like, right, it's time for lose 30 or £50. We're off, fellas. Let's go. So like, obviously, being £300, there's not many sort of avenues of cardio and things you can do to aid in sort of that. Like, what is a go-to of sort of? 'Cause I know you do. Is it like a morning cardio session? I know you've taught
Yeah.
before when you do stuff like that. So what does that look like when you're trying to strip £50?
Again, when I say it's progressive, it's kind of like it's like with any phase that you go into, you're not going gung ho. Do you know what I mean? Straight from the start. And when I say a lot of newbies or a lot of regular of lifestyle clients, like I want to push harder. Okay, cool. Do you know what I mean? But if you were just to restrict calories, put cardio right up, and do you know what I mean? Like everything else, you're just going to run into a brick wall straight away and leave yourself nowhere to go. So I think this prep, for an example, I think I was on 20 or 25 minutes to begin with, 5 times a week. I'm currently doing, I think it's 50 minutes, 7 days a week. But again, that just gets up there, do you know what I mean? And it's like, wake up at 5:30 every morning, go get on the stairs, level 8, will burn anywhere in the region of 650, 700 to 750 calories, do you know what I mean, in that 50-minute period.
I love that you said that about it being progressive because I think something that we see, and people who listen to this regularly would be bored of me talking about, like, the one percenters and shit like that, because
Yeah.
they always come back to it. But we are in a generation of where you see that everything should be extreme, everything should be doing this and doing that, and sort of there's no regard for building up and earning it essentially. And I imagine that that is a principle of bodybuilding is earning to where you go.
Well, I'll go from a few angles at this, right? One, like in a world today where we can buy pretty much anything, do you know what I mean? And I mean like purchase anything, do you know what I mean? Like, if I look when I'm not old, well I say not old, I'm 33, do you know what I mean? But like when I was younger, like shops on a Sunday used to shut, do you know what I mean, at 4 o'clock, and do you know what I mean? Like your high streets were shut. We're in a generation now where if you want to buy something, you can fucking buy it. Do you know what I mean? All you have to do is click on your phone, start scrolling. I want that. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Fast food delivery at fucking 2 a.m. Get it here. You cannot buy a good physique. It's one thing you
Mm.
can't buy. It's just graft, hard work, and consistency over a period of time. The extremes that you're talking about and things that you see, do you know what I mean, are like on social media and stuff like that. It's sales tactics, and that's it. And it's to draw your attention. So your likes of people like Liver King, like,
Mm.
do you know what I mean? Like, mate, you're a muppet.
Yeah.
Like, because when I say he's a muppet, no, he's not. He's actually very clever because unfortunately, what he'd done was from a business perspective. Look at him, he thrived. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Multi millionaire through
yes,
lying for fucking 10 years.
yeah, and that's what these people do, and it's kind of like a lot of people now are talking about Eddie Abu.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't, Eddie.
Yeah, I
Do you
know
see
any
his?
about.
Yeah, and you see his videos online. We're talking about like you say, like the one percenters and like people doing things for the shock factor and stuff like that. Like Eddie Abu, like fuck me. If you go and look at his videos and stuff like that, oh this sweet potato is better than this food. Yeah, okay, on paper, yes, it is because you've got something in a. Do you know what I mean? You've got something that's either been grown or handmade. Do you know what I mean? For an
Mm.
example, but okay, let's just say that's something that sweet potato that he always fucking bangs on about. Do you know what I mean? Like loves a sweet potato and a fucking egg or whatever, but like if you don't digest sweet potato well, if you've got an intolerance to sweet potato or it causes bloat, distension, gas, do you know what I mean? Like, all right, but I can process, I mean, a Rice Krispie Square bar, for an example, do you know what I mean? Like, that he seems to hate on, which is fair enough. But, like, if you can digest that better than the sweet potato, what's going to be better for you?
Yeah,
The Rice
100%.
Krispie Square bar? Because,
Yeah, and you're right because my fiance is a sports nutritionist, and like when she was working at football clubs and things like that in a master's degree, and the food that she was working at a pretty elite level on like placements and things like that, and obviously we have mutual friend, or we know like Amy O'Keefe, who is now
yeah.
England Rose. These people sort of say that they're not saying, "Oh my God, don't touch a squares bar." If anything, it's quite the opposite. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So, like, if these people who are going getting master's degrees and things in that in sports nutrition and stuff, you'd be more inclined to listen to them. But again, I think Eddie Abu, what he does really well is again, it's that shot factor, isn't
that
it?
better.
And some of the things he says, are probably too far off. It's just how he delivers them are very, very like
If
bland.
right,
Go
if you
on, sorry.
listen, if you listen to his message, he's trying to promote like whole foods, which is correct. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, which is great.
realistically, right? Okay, what's a better food source? Do you know what I mean? Like say a whole food or something that's been made in a factory. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I could even use a bodybuilder as an example here. You got a guy called Hunter Labrada, right? For an
Mm-hmm.
example, so a few years ago, he's a pro bodybuilder. He's a very good pro bodybuilder. But a few years ago, a lot of his nutrition was made up of shakes and cereal. Now his look left a lot to be desired. He switched over to whole foods, and within the space of 12 months, his physique transformed
Yeah.
uh, by sticking at those whole foods. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that was just when you're eating good quality, whole, nutritious food, it's going to have a better look and it's going to feel better. Do you know what I mean? Like most of the time, predominantly, as long as you're not intolerant to something. So that Eddie's message of eating whole foods is good. Do you know what I mean? He's like you say, he's doing his thing for the shock factor, so you can buy into him and think, mate. I had when I say an old client of mine, he come in for treatment and he was coached by me, and he come in and talked to me about Eddie Abu, And he was trying to say, well, why did you do this with me? Or like, why was this? And I just used the example of, right, okay, you take Karen from down the road who's never fucking been able to stick to a diet plan within her life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and you put all those fucking sweet potatoes and all the rest in front of her. Do you think that woman is going to stick to that? No.
No.
But if you create something with a bit of variety in there, so for example, she said that she's got a sweet tooth or something like that. All right. For an example, a nice easy meal, 0% fat Greek yogurt, nice little bit of sugar-free syrup, bit of granola, berries, dark chocolate. You've got something that's sweet, and do you know what I mean? It's got a good protein source, it's got a good carbohydrate source, it's got fruit in it. Do you know what I mean? It's nutritious, but it's a different way of around something. What's she going to be more likely to stick to?
The yogurt bowl, Matt, every time.
Exactly. So it's kind of like when I put that conversation to him, because he was someone that had a sweet tooth, and because I give him something, do you know what I mean, that wasn't classed as whole food, do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
he was like, why did you do that? Eddie Abu would say that's wrong.
Yeah, yeah. But
But
these are what happens, isn't it? We look at these people and sort of take what they say as gospel.
yeah,
And I think
yeah,
that is what is not dangerous, but it's sort of, it can be sort of negative in the long run, can't it? And I think this is something that I've been trying to really work on doing this, because I realise that what I'm doing and how I'm promoting what I'm doing is not preaching. That's probably the wrong word of what I'm doing, but I'm trying to use my experience and the experience of others that I've been around when I've been, coaching in environments.
yeah,
But again, I'm very happy to say that that might not work for John Doe or Jane Doe, because we're all individual. So
yeah,
probably our problems are going to be individual to a
yep,
degree. I mean, we all have, some of us have similar problems. But then that means if the problem's individual, the solution's going to be individual as well. So I think when you're on social media and you see these quick fixes and this will guarantee X, you got to be like, maybe for that one person, and that's why it's worked so well. And they're a really good marketer and they're really good at business, like Liver King. And now they've
yep.
converted people like you said, your client, who are like, why the fuck have you done this?
Yeah, why did you do this when I was with you? Because that's something, because I know you, I know your personality, and I know that you'd stick to something like that. But again, if I wanged a load of shite like that in front of you, which is good whole nutritious food, it don't bother me. I see food as fuel. Like if you look at my
Yeah.
diet, it's all whole foods. Do you know what I mean? But I can stick to that, and that's not an issue. But
Mm.
like the majority can't, so it's kind of like making it making it reasonable for them. Do you know what I mean? Making it something that they're going to stick to and still get a result.
Definitely. I've just had an inspiration of a question then, just because you said it, and you're on about yourself and in your diet and that. How
Yeah.
difficult is the food? Because something you see, and again, another sort of social media star and someone that I've watched, and I don't know how you feel about him, but Sam Sulek and like what he does when he, yeah, I knew he was going to do that. But like when he talks about, when he's like in a bulking phase, but a thing you see a lot is like the food becomes so hard. Do you struggle with the food?
No,
Like, no.
no, and that's
Ah,
when I pushed up to £300. When it got to the end, it was something like, and this is no word of a lie, it was around about 7,500 calories. The majority of it was clean food. With when I say one or two little bits on it, I'm talking like things like granola, like the odd squares bar here or there. Do you know what I mean? To try and get the calories in. The back end of that push, it was tough. Do you know what I mean? But that is the only time that it's been a struggle for people like Sulek. Like again, you take your hat off to the kid because he's got a fantastic physique with fantastic potential. Works very hard. I mean, has built up a great following. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of his YouTube, he started that from a young age, and so
yeah,
fair play to the kid. He's earned great money. He's got great sponsorships and all the rest of it. But the majority of the nation do what he does, you would not have the same result because he's a genetic freak.
yeah. He is a genetic freak because he's like 21, 22, and he looks
Yeah,
like that. But that's again, it's
yeah,
sort of, there's so much, not disinformation, but there's so much to it. And I think even, not even going into bodybuilding, but just fitness and exercise, there's just so much that people sort of get tunnel vision and want to be like, this is what this person looks like. They do this, so this ultimately must mean that I do this. And then it goes
yeah.
back to what I just said then. It's the individual and the solution.
Individual.
So like you've got to have this perception and be like, actually, is it the genetics? Is it the fact that Sam Sulek doesn't have a day job. This is his day job. He gets to do this every day. I have to go and sit at my office 9 to 5, and I can't get my steps in because I've got a meeting and shit like that. And again, this is what the podcast was for, was sort of to speak to people from different avenues of life and sort of show that everyone is very different. We all have very similar, we all tick in a very similar way, but we all have these unique sort of circumstances and things that help us become who we are. If that makes sense.
No, it does. You're right, and it's like you said, we all take in a certain way, but we're all going around it in a different manner.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's, again, even from a bodybuilding perspective, mate, and like, I can tell you now, there's people that don't do cardio because they don't need to they can just do steps to get in shape.
Wow.
Which is cool. Great for them. Like, I would love to be you. I ain't one of you.
Yeah. If I could do steps for getting in shape, wow, that would be so good.
Yeah. I'm the fucking guy that has to put in get my cardio up there just to get in condition. Like, it's one of those things. It is what it is.
So going from we've talked about it quite a lot. I've learned a lot about bodybuilding because I clearly didn't know that much as I thought I did. But sort of, you've talked there about your discipline, what gets you going, the sort of mindset that you have. Is there a go-to thing that you do when you're struggling for motivation or anything? Is there any sort of exercises, habits that you've built that help you get through difficult days, training phases, meals, anything? Is there something that you can sort of get it from in your mind out?
One thing that I like doing personally is, and I say it's cliche being on one, but I like listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
Because it switches my mind off. But that's pretty much it. So like on the stairs in the morning, like, I'll be honest with you, I could not be arsed this morning. Do you know what I mean? Like, my body's feeling a bit beat up at the minute, like, and I just could not be arsed. But again, when I put on a podcast, do you know what I mean, and I'm listening to something that's actually like engaging my brain or like making me laugh or something like that, or something that I'm like tuned into, it just helps make time go, do you know what I mean, a little bit quicker. But I genuinely, like, again, talking about the hard days, shall we say, like with bodybuilding, when it gets to the end, like, hunger's high, energy's low. It's just, do you know what? I don't do it in a negative way, but it's kind of like you're counting down the days.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you're just thinking to yourself, well, that's another day boxed off. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's just stringing day after day together, and it's not forever. Do you know what I mean? It's not permanent. So it's kind of like you got to take the rough with the smooth. So, and there's nothing that I really do, shall we say, like I say, other than listen to, I know it sounds stupid, but other than listen to a podcast just to help my mind switch off a little bit and just keep myself active, just to help with little things here and there. But it's kind of like, mate, it's just another day. However I feel is however I feel. If I feel like shit, okay, cool, I feel like shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've had, so far this week, Monday was okay. Yesterday was fucking rough. Today's been great. It's like, well, what's tomorrow going to bring? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Yeah. It is what it is.
I love that mindset, mate. I really do love that mindset, because I think, again, going back to what you said, controlling the controllable is you can literally only do what you can do. And again, a lot of people put a lot of pressure on themselves, myself included, in the past, to be like, every day should be sunshine and rainbows, but that is just not how the fucking cookie crumbles.
It never will be. Like, we're humans at the end of the day. We're not robots. We've all got emotions. We've all got feelings. We've all got things we can't control. Like I say, like, I woke up this morning, like I say, feeling beat up and battered. Do you know what I mean? And I was just like, fuck, I've got a full day of clients. Like, yeah. I was thinking to myself, today's going to be a long one. I could feel it, but like, honestly, it's come to like midway through the day. I was like, do you know what I mean? It's actually okay today. Today, I don't know what it is. Don't know why. Something's perked up, but yeah, it's like I say, it's just the mindset of it. What will be, and it is what it is. Just get your head down, fucking crack on. And the only thing that I can say is, especially when you're a goal-driven person, and it's easier said than done, but it's kind of like I say, have a goal at the end. Like, set the goal, have the goal, and just hit the boxes. If you hit the boxes daily, you're going to get there. And again, like from I can put it into perspective of like a client or a client transformation. You know, like they want results overnight. Cool, so do we. So we all do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But how do you achieve that result? How do you achieve anything in life? Okay, it's hard work, consistency over a fucking long duration of pit time. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing, like with bodybuilding, that's where people will crumble because, like, they'll say, yeah, like, Samsu, like, yeah, sound brilliant, cool, like, he's a genetic freak, but he works hard. Do you know what I mean? For the majority of bodybuilders, mate, they've been doing this for a young age, so it's like they crack on and just graft. Do you know what I mean? And it's graft, graft, graft. And I'm not to go off tangent too much, but like, you know, in a world today, there's a lot of influencers. Do you know what I mean? And like, people want to be the next influencer. Or like, I want to be an influencer. I want to be a YouTuber. Mate, you go and look at any successful YouTuber, and you go back to the beginning and see how long they've been doing YouTube content for. It's fucking years.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, if you actually look at it, they ain't become an overnight success. It's just that you've known them to become an overnight success, but they've been at that game for a long, long, long period of time. It's just that they've stayed consistent and true and worked hard to be better at it.
100%. And so this is another analogy that I always use all the time. So apologies if you've heard it, but it's like water erosion, isn't it? You know, like one drop
Yeah.
on the rock. You know,
Yeah.
at first 5 years, it might not even look like it's making a dent on that rock, but if it just keeps going and keeps going, eventually it's going to split it in two. And I think people have this idea of that. You know, I've coached people in the past, like with PTing and things like that, and you know, you have that initial phase where everything's going smooth, everything's, you know, the weight's dropping off, all things are going up, and then you hit that plateau, don't you, where the real consistency comes in. And I've done this, you know what I mean? I'm not sitting here saying I've never done it. I've probably done it with things that I started months ago. I've been like, why am I not getting any better? Why am I hitting this plateau? And you know, and one of the main things that taught me that was weightlifting. That was just that you're looking at like a kilogram, and you're like, the fucking work that you have to put in to even just get a kilogram, and you're like, what? 6 weeks of absolutely fucking busting my shoulders, busting myself, just like for a kilogram, and
just
like
that 1 kilogram.
Yeah, but that must be the same for you because, like, you know, you get to a point of where, you know, you've got the size per, but then you're like, right, well, you know, I've got to somehow make my shoulders bigger, and like, and then you know, is that how it works? You just have to be like, right, I'm gonna pick this, I'm gonna laser focus on it, and I've just got to go into the trenches.
You've again, for someone like myself, I need more overall still. Do you know what I mean? I still need more size. So it's kind of like, for me, it's kind of simple again. You're devising training program. Do you know what I mean? Like based on weaknesses. So again, this past off season, like a lot of time was spent. Okay, we need a bit of posterior thickness. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like a lot of this off season was catered around and centered around posterior thickness. So it's building and devising a training split that, do you know what I mean, suits that. So it's kind of like, right, although I still need overall mass, like the posterior was the thing that was lagging. Right, okay, we need to bring that up. So how are we going to do that? Okay, we structure a training block and a training routine around building that posterior thickness. Do you know what I mean? And I'll be honest with you, this is another thing, sorry to go off on one, where
Feel
people
free
get
to go off as much as you want, Matt.
they get like, you know, like with training plans, how we've got strong and weak body parts, and it's going to be always a game of push and pull. So it's kind of like you're really trying to balance out your physique. So it's kind of like you will devise training blocks to bring up certain muscle groups. Do you know what I mean? And then once everything's even and balanced, you're like, maybe you can just go into a more, you know, like overall split. Do you know what I mean? But you're always just trying to structure it around your strengths and weaknesses. Do you know what I mean?
And it's not sexy, is it? Like,
No.
getting better and progressing and focusing on one thing is, from my own experience. So, like, fucking hell, my goal, apart from, you know, having gammy shoulders, has always been like 100 kilo snatch. And like, anything regarding that is the actual snatch part of that is minute. It's getting it's getting a stronger back, it's getting a stronger overhead. You might be doing some drills and stuff like that. But like for me, with someone who has the weakest legs ever, I am a rugby league player through and through, mate. I'm just so upper body dominant. But so like, you're like, fucking hell, I just want to be snatching. And you're like, well, that's not how it goes, mate. That's not how this works. And I feel like people sometimes get into things and they're like, oh, fucking hell, I wanted to run a 25-minute 5K, but instead I'm doing 3 easy zone 2 runs a week. Why am I doing this? And you're like, because that is just how it is.
And that's how you build your block. And it's like same with powerlifters. I have this conversation with like some powerlifters and stuff like that. Oh, like again, look, I'm not going to pretend that I'm a bench expert because I'm not. Like I'm shit at bench. I never bench. But like for example, like same with the deadlift, same with the squat. You know what I mean? Like you've got many stabilizing and supporting muscles that you do not train. Do you know what I mean? Like how do you build a bigger bench? All right, so what tricep accessory work are you doing? What are you trying to build? Do you know what I mean? Doing. Do you know what I mean? To help build that bench. I'm doing bench. Okay, that's one part of the equation. You've now got to take all the little small parts and formulate something that's going to help bring up those stabilizing muscles. Do you know what I mean? To help, that's going to generate more power to you within a bench scenario. Do you know what I mean? Or a deadlift scenario, like say, same with you in a snatch scenario. Okay, where you're weak,
Yeah.
low. Okay, well, unfortunately, you're going to have to spend time prioritizing and focusing, like fucking leg drive or hip drive. Do you know what I mean? Like, and focusing on movements like that to get that power out the hole. For an example,
And that's why I think, again, my own opinions like arseholes, aren't they? Everyone's got one. But
yeah,
like, I've found, even with just general life, so like habits, well-being, things like that, moving into that sort of remit. Obviously, this is why this is here. But the things you have to work on are normally the things you shit at. So it's the things you actually want to work on least. And you have to sort of have that realization one day of being like, well, for me, why do I not like squatting? Because sort of squatting's something I'm bad at. I don't particularly like doing it. But the only way I'm going to get better at the things I want to do is target the things that I'm poor at. And I think that transfers well into anything in life, is that
agreed.
if you're not doing something well, it's probably because the thing that you're bad at, quotation marks around it, you're probably not bad at it. It's just what you don't enjoy in comparison to something else. That's the thing you need to work on. And it's having that self-reflection in everyday life, in the gym, on the training, the field, wherever you're doing it, the swimming pool. You've got to have a very sort of honest and open relationship with yourself. And I think what you said is that seems so integral to bodybuilding that it's, if you don't have that, you're essentially, well, like anything else, you're fighting a losing battle.
Like I'd say that with any walk of life, though, it's kind of like take a promotion and work. Do you know what I mean? Like if you want to get promoted, no, I don't mean you per se. Do you know what I mean? But if someone wants to get promoted in work, unfortunately, sometimes you're going to have to do things you don't want to do. Do you know what I mean? Like you might have to. You might have to spend longer in work. You might have to do longer hours. You might have to miss out on stuff at the weekend. But do you know what? Why? Because you want that promotion. If you want it, you'll find a way. And it's like that in any walk of life. Unfortunately, like I say, do I want to get up at half and go and do 50 minutes on the stairs? No. I could think of better ways. I love it. Do you know what I mean? I love the structure and the routine. But do you know what I mean? Like there's plenty of days where I just think, like, not feeling this morning, but do you know what? I fucking do it anyway, because guess what? That's how you achieve a result, by getting up and doing something, even though you don't want to do it.
Yeah, 100%. And segued nicely into a question. There's 2 questions that I always ask everybody. So this one, it might have to word it slightly different, but if there was three sort of habits or routines that bodybuilding have provided you, and you could transfer them into someone's everyday life, what would be the 3 that you would say?
Habits.
Yeah. So habits or routines, like not putting words in your mouth, then you don't have to use this. But you mentioned about the structure, then the structure that the training provides you, things like that. Like, what are 3 of them sort of things? So it could be like, the meal prep, things like that. What are the top 3 in your mind that an everyday person could benefit from taking from bodybuilding?
I'm gonna say the three that I keep alluding to,
Yeah.
but that's. No, I'm just gonna say it:
No.
consistency, hard work, and patience. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
They're the three, because if you take that from bodybuilding, you can apply that in any part of your life. You'll see results. That's, again, like I say, like I can roll it back to when I was a kid. And like I'll be honest with you, I just wanted to play professional sport. Like I went from football to rugby league to athletics. Do you know what I mean? I wish that I loved my parents. Do you know what I mean? They were like, just my mum and my stepdad, like they were great and they were good parents. But I wish someone just fucking just went, no, you're doing that. Do you know what I mean? Because you're good at that. You get what I mean? Like, and
give you the laser focus of being like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
This is what you want to do.
Fucking whether you like it or not, do it. Do you know what I mean? And it's easy. It's easy now as an adult to say that, and I'm not calling them out because it's not their problem. It's obviously, but that's something that I've learned. It's kind of like, no, you're gonna have to go through lulls. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of like, if anything in life, if you work hard at it, doesn't matter how long it takes, you'll get there. Do you know what I mean? If you are consistent day in, day out and tick the boxes that you need to tick, you will get there. And again, having patience, because again, we're all impatient because we're in a world where we can just get anything like that. Like they're the three that I just think they're from bodybuilding, but they're in everyday life as well. And like when you have those things, and I'd probably say that's the same with most successful people.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm not saying I'm successful. I just mean like if you look at most successful people in life, I can take Cristiano Ronaldo. Do you know what I mean? Like, wasn't the most genetically blessed footballer, but what did he do? He worked hard. He'd done everything that he needed to do within a football field. He'd done extra. Do you know what I mean? So he worked hard. He was consistent at it, and he fucking stuck at it. And look what happened. He's probably been up there with in the top 3 players of all time.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the skills? Was that sort of answering your question, or have I just gone off?
I think it's. I particularly resonate with the thing of what you said about being like a kid and sort of someone just. I mean, to be fair, like shout out to my mum and dad for doing that. They was very much, when you had enough of something, he's like, I don't want to do that anymore. Like they was pretty good at sort of, no, you're going to carry on and do it. But as a child, you don't have that understanding. To sort of be like, there's so many times now that I wish I was like, fucking hell, why didn't I take rugby more serious when I was younger? And I was like, because now I wish that I had. I wish I'd have done it. I wish I'd have put the motivation and the discipline that I wish I could put in now. Then, but now I can't because I've missed that boat.
No, it's been and it's gone, and it's. But again, that's where I think you need that support. Personal opinion, I think you need that support in that direction. And I'm not going to mention the player, but there's a lad who's a Super League player who at school was on the books at Warrington, and he wanted to play football like for the school, but he was on at Warrington. He is still a very good player, but his dad was quite harsh on him. Do you know what I mean? And we were like, look at at the time, you're like, why can't you play football? Do you know what I mean? Just fucking play. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to fucking do anything. Do you know what I mean? But he was thinking about his son and thinking about his career, his future. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, the what ifs, shall we say, just for a fucking school football game. Do you know what I mean? It's because if he broke his leg fucking playing football, do you know what I mean? That's him out, and that could have potentially been his rugby league career. He's more likely to do it. Well, I say he's more likely to do it in rugby league. He could fucking do it anywhere. Do you know what I mean? But point being was that he wanted his son to succeed so much, and that he had to tell him no at certain points. And like I say, the kid's gone on to have a successful Super League career. In his 30s now, and played Super League for fucking since his late teens.
Yeah. I mean, Beckham's another example of that. You watched that Beckham documentary. And it was evident for his dad was like, well, you've told me you want to be a football player. You're going to be a football player. Yeah. And I mean, you can argue the positives and the negatives of that. And I can understand, again, going back to what we were talking about when we first, early on, is like, if that's what you like and that's what you enjoy and you don't think that that's right, that's fair enough. That's your opinion. But I think I do agree with some of what you're saying there of like, sometimes people, you've just got to have a support system in place, and I think for me that's a massive thing. You've got to have people who are like, no, that is not good for you, that is not right for you, this is what you need to do. That's my fiance now. She's like, stop being a prick, blah 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 blah. But I need that. I need someone to do that. Not everybody needs that. And like,
And I think once you get a good support system, your community is integral to your growth. And I think like this, there's that saying that you're a byproduct of the 5 people you spend most time with. Scientifically, that's not true, but I
Yeah.
think it is in a sense. I know that sounds stupid, but
No, it's correct though, because they drive
yeah,
you. And I'll think you the same with when you asked about bodybuilding at the very start. I apologise. You said it's lonely. Like it is lonely. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not lonely because it's just you. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
But it's not just you. Like to be successful, I'll be honest with. Again, I'm not a successful bodybuilder. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not a good bodybuilder. I'm very average. But to be able to do it, you have to have an understanding support network. Like I've got again fiance who fucking supports the life out of me. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I've got friends who understand it and who are in the industry. So again, they're supportive of it. So again, when I'm a miserable fucker, do you know what I mean? Like they ain't saying, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" Do you know what I mean? Or cheer up. Like no, they
yeah,
know. They
yeah,
can relate, and it's like same with her. She's amazing, and like you again, as lonely as it is because it's you having to do the work, you putting in the graft, you having the feelings. You cannot do that unless you are in a very good position with your relationships, friendships, and personal.
yeah. Man, I'm like blown away from how sort of the. I mean, it's that sounds stupid, but I am the sort of like how relevant everything seems to be from sort of like from an amateur bodybuilding up to I know you have friends who are pro bodybuilders and you train with them and stuff like that. How transferable that is into sort of everyday life. I was expecting it, but I wasn't sort of expecting it to the degree of which we've covered. So I was sort of like, I think people won't expect sort of this from. Do you know what I mean? I don't think people would have expected the transfer into everyday life because again, it's got its own sort of prior misconceptions, I'd say, about bodybuilding and what it looks like and what it is. And that's probably from when growing up, I went into them backstreet gyms and I was like, what is going on? Like, but it's changed.
If you actually, I'll be honest with you, like if you actually speak to, when I say the majority of bodybuilders,
Yeah.
like a lot of bodybuilders, like will go out of the way to help you. Do you know what I mean? If you ask a bodybuilder a question, do you know what I mean? Like, and again, it's a very open ended thing to say, but like if someone looks good in a gym environment, doesn't mean they're a bodybuilder. Do you know what I mean? Like if you look at someone who competes on stage, doesn't mean they're going to be a great coach.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and it doesn't mean they know what they're on about. It doesn't, because I know people that are just great at being robots. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what makes them great bodybuilders. But like, if you actually took the time, and not you personally, I just mean people in general, like, and listen to actually like bodybuilders and watch them on YouTube, like actual bodybuilders. Do you know what I mean? Pro bodybuilders or some amateurs or whatever. You'll realise that they are actually quite intelligent people, and a lot of us are just very introverted. Do you know what I mean? Rather than you get extroverts, you get introverts. I tend to find with a lot of bodybuilders, like we're all just fucking nerds. Do you know what I mean? Like they're just like stupid shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like don't know, like we're not extrovert people, but you'll probably get the stereotype of, do you know what I mean? Like because you look a certain way or you act a certain way, or do you know what I mean? Like, or people have a stigma in the head.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it probably, from my own sort of, not my misconceptions, but my own thoughts, I imagine for me that's always come from the fact that these people, they're in good shape, they're so confident to be able to go on stage in the little sparklies and shit like that. And I think, again, probably people probably think different, but that's just what I think. But like, I remember listening to Chris Williamson's podcast with Chris Bumstead and being like, lad, you're just an intelligent, everyday guy who's a fucking freak. He's just
Yeah.
a stud.
Yeah, he's just smashed life.
Yeah.
Because he has, and he's an everyday person. He's a relatable character, and you're like, oh, he's just a normal person. Yeah, he is. It's just because he's very successful. He's built a great life for himself. Do you know what I mean? And he's just a likable guy. Like,
Yeah.
and I just like, again, if you actually like delve into bodybuilders and their personalities and stuff like that, especially the ones that show, do you know what I mean? Like what they show on YouTube and stuff like that. Don't, again, with every industry, you're going to get arrogant people.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
you're going to get dickheads. It is what it is. There's enough of them in this industry. Trust me, I can tell you that for free. But you still get a lot of very good people. Do you know what I mean? Like, and yeah, it's just one thing I'd probably say. Like, I'd never judge a book by its cover, and I personally never do. But like, I'd always say to people, never judge a book by its cover, because I can tell you now, like, don't think someone because a bodybuilder they're not intelligent, because I could fucking say, do you know what I mean? Like, I can talk to you about a lot of things, health and fitness related. Do you know what I mean? Like, and educate.
And like, you are doing the majority of the things to the extreme point of the spectrum. You know, like the nutrition that you're doing, the training that you're doing it to a degree of what is, you know, higher than just turning up and doing your hypertrophy training 4 times a week.
Yeah,
you're working on things, again, not licking your ass, just going off from what my perspective is. Just you are working to that higher end of the spectrum, and I think people just take it for granted. Of like, I think a lot of people just like, oh, it's fucking gear and it's a lot of fucking this and it's genetics. You know, in some cases it is, but the fucking hard work that goes into that, you can't just do that without it. You can't do anything without hard work. And I think that is what's always sort of been impressive to me, of like watching, you know, like fucking like the documentaries, like the Ronnie Coleman one and stuff like that, listening to Bumstead, and you're like, fucking me, the grind is so intense.
Well, you look at Coleman when he was a police officer doing those jobs and training sometimes twice a day and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Like I say, it's a work ethic, mate, and that it's kind of ingrained in you. It's not, and if you ain't got it, you ain't got it.
You ain't got it. And that, so going into the last question that I always ask people, put you on the spot a little bit, just going off that. If there was a habit or a routine that you've done in the past, or it doesn't have to be something that you've done in the past, it could be something that you've always wanted to do, a habit or a routine, what would it be and why?
Give me an example.
So, like, for me, for instance, the routine or the habit that I would like to bring back into my everyday life or a regular basis is stretching daily, because I was doing it, I felt better for it. Or it can be something as deeper as like anything, essentially. Is there something that you've done in the past that brought you a lot of benefit, and for just one reason or not, you've stopped doing it? Or is there something that you're like, fucking hell, like, I want to start gratitude journaling or meditating?
Well, I was literally about to say that the last thing that you said there, doing something like meditation, just more so, because when you do actually speak to people, do you know what I mean? And like the benefit that they feel from it, do you know what I mean? And they see from it. I genuinely, again, just how life is, do you know what I mean? Like I say, I'll wake up at 5:30, probably go to bed at, do you know what I mean? Let's just say 11 as an example. I mean, I'll be working physically, or I'll be, do you know what I mean, checking in with clients and responding to clients. Do you know what I mean? A lot of the day, sometimes the day gets away with you, and it's kind of like, no, sometimes that it would be nice to have that 10, 20-minute period just to switch off and focus, do you know what I mean, and unwind and just think about yourself. Do you know what I mean? Just think about yourself.
And just be connected to now. I feel like for me, when I do meditate, like actual meditating, I find reading is quite meditative for me. I do that before I go to bed, because it's sort of just, it's all I'm focusing on. It takes my mind away from the day, blah, 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 that, whatever. It works for me. But when I actually have been meditating in the past, it's such a, not the past doesn't matter, the future doesn't matter, you're just focusing on the here and that. And it's, I was obviously from where we're from obviously different places, but very similar sort of DNA. You'd be like, well, the fuck you meditating, fucking hippie. What are you doing that for? This, that. No, you know what I mean? And like, it isn't, I'm not embarrassed to say that I was probably of that thought process for a long time. And then I tried it and I was like, fucking idiots, don't know nothing.
No, they don't. But again, that's people, like, mate, you go out into the street every day, do you know what I mean? Like we can go in, oh, why'd you go to the gym? Why'd you eat well? Why don't you come out for a drink? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Because I don't want to, do you know what I mean? Like, if I want to fucking sit there and just hum, do you know what I mean? And just do whatever,
let me do it. Just let me do it.
Does it affect you?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Fuck off. Like, Honestly, like people have an opinion, like, oh, why are you eating that? Why are you doing that? Because I want to.
Yeah, and
Do
it's
I?
not bothering you.
Yeah. Do I come round to you and say, why are you doing this? Do you know what I mean? Like, no, because it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Meditate. If you like meditating, fucking meditate. Fuck them all.
Right, and I think, mate, we couldn't leave it on it. We couldn't finish a more perfect note for me and you, I don't think. So thank you very much, mate. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your time. But before you
Thank
go,
you for
let
having me.
people know where they can find you. Your
Pretty
socials.
much just Instagram. Just type in Ewan Rodger. It's RODGER. EWAN RODGER. And it should be some tanned up fucking kid in some sparklies with a bald head and a ginger beard. That's pretty much all that you'll see.
Yeah, some big rig. Yeah.
Well, you'll say. I won't say. I'll still say
I'll say
small,
it.
but thank you.
I'll
I
big you up,
appreciate
mate.
it.
I'll big you up. Don't worry.
Thank
But
you.
I'll put the socials in the description below, and I hope everybody enjoys. So thank you, mate.
Yes, thank you
Nice
very
one.
much for having me. I have absolutely loved this, but thank you. Thank you for having me.